Look at the people around you right now. On the street, on the train, in the next room. Different heights, different faces, different skin. Every single one of them is the same thing you are. You have never met another kind of human, not once, not in your entire life. Nobody you have ever spoken to had a different skull shape, a different hand, a different species written into their blood. And that feels completely normal to you. It shouldn't. For almost the whole time humans have existed, you would have had neighbors, not other tribes, other species. At one point there were 9 different ways to be human, breathing the same air, drinking from the same rivers. Today there is one, and what happened to the other 8 is not what you were told. Go back 300,000 years and take a walk. This is not the clean, quiet wilderness in the museum paintings. It is crowded, and it is dangerous, and you are not the most impressive thing in it. In the cold north, you meet the Neanderthals. Now, actually look at one. He comes up to your chin, and he is roughly twice as thick as you. His forearms are shaped like a man who has spent his life wrestling animals, because he has. His rib cage is a barrel, his brow sits over his eyes like a shelf, and behind it is a brain slightly bigger than the one you are using to watch this. Go and look at their skeletons in a museum, and you find something strange. Healed fractures everywhere, skulls, arms, collarbones. One study compared the injury pattern to rodeo riders, because these people killed animals the size of a car by walking up and stabbing them in the ribs. They were not primitive. They were extremely good at a job you would not survive one afternoon of. Somewhere in Asia are the Denisovans. We barely have their bones, a finger, a jaw. Mostly what we have of them is their DNA sitting inside people alive today. Ghosts with grandchildren, remember them. They come back at the end of this. On an Indonesian island, Homo floresiensis. Adults barely 3 feet tall, sharing that island with rats the size of cats and lizards that could eat them. Not a fairy tale, a grave. In South Africa, Homo naledi. Deep inside a cave system, you have to squeeze through a gap the width of your shoulders to reach, carrying a brain the size of an orange, alive at the same time as people who looked exactly like you. In the Philippines, Homo luzonensis. Nobody even knew that species existed until 2019. And underneath all of them, Homo erectus. They lasted nearly 2 million years. Your species has managed about 300,000. They outlived you 6 times over, and you have never once heard their name at a dinner table. 9 kinds of human, then 8 of them stop. You have been told we killed them. That version feels right. It is simple. It fits the kind of animal you already suspect you are, and there is a quiet pride buried inside it. But the last of them did not die out there in the snow. They died inside us, and it has not finished yet. Because at first the evidence really does look like murder. For 200,000 years, the Neanderthals owned Europe. They lived through ice ages that would kill you before morning. Then our ancestors walk in from Africa. Within a few thousand years of us arriving, the Neanderthals are gone, and it keeps happening. We show up somewhere, and the older humans stop appearing in the rock. We reach Australia, and the giant animals go quiet. We cross into the Americas, and the mammoths follow them down. Everywhere our footprints appear, something else stops leaving footprints. That is not a coincidence, that is a pattern, and a pattern is what you use to convict someone. So here's the question that should be bothering you by now. Where is the battlefield? 150 years of digging, thousands of sites, tens of thousands of bones. If we hunted 8 kinds of human off this planet, somewhere there should be a valley stacked with the proof, a layer of skulls, our stone points sitting in their ribs. There isn't one. Not one confirmed battlefield between us and them. Anywhere on Earth, something ended them. It just did not leave the wound you were picturing. You have probably heard the popular answer, that we invented gods and gossip and stories, and that let us cooperate in bigger groups than they could. Some of that may be true, but there is a colder answer, and it does not need a single spear. There were never very many of them. Neanderthals lived in small, thin, scattered groups for their entire existence. Their bones carry the signature of inbreeding, the kind you only get when there is nobody left to choose from. So, stop picturing a war. Picture this instead. A Neanderthal mother in the valley she was born in. Her group used to be 40 people. It is 9. She knows every face in it because there are 9. Nobody is hunting her. She is not starving today. She is just watching a world that keeps getting emptier, holding a child who will grow up with almost no one to grow up with. That is how a species actually ends. Not in a battle, in a room that keeps getting quieter. But while that valley was emptying, something else was happening, and we only found out because somebody bothered to go through the rubbish. In a Siberian cave called Denisova Archaeologists pulled out more than 2,000 bone fragments so small and so shapeless that nobody could tell what animal they came from. Junk, shards, the stuff you brush off the table. One of them was 2.5 centimeters long, about the length of your thumbnail and a bit more. When it was finally sequenced, that scrap turned out to be a girl, around 13 years old. She died roughly 90,000 years ago. Her mother was a Neanderthal. Her father was a Denisovan, two different kinds of human, two species you were taught to keep in separate boxes. And she is their daughter, sitting right in the middle of them, now reduced to a chip of leg bone in a drawer in Germany. They call her Denny. Now think about what she means. We have only ever sequenced a tiny handful of archaic humans, a few dozen, and one of them turned out to be first-generation mixed. If that is luck, it is impossible luck. It is far more likely that this is simply what happened whenever these people met. The border between us and them was never sealed. We tripped over the proof in a bag of bone chips, which brings us to the uncomfortable part. They are not gone. Not completely. If your family comes from outside Africa, roughly 1 to 2% of your DNA is Neanderthal. If your ancestors are from somewhere like Papua New Guinea, you can carry up to 6% Denisovan, and it is not decoration. It works. The last time you caught something and your body fought it off without you even noticing, part of the machinery doing that came from them. When our ancestors walked into continents full of diseases they had never met, the people already living there had spent hundreds of thousands of years paying for those answers in bodies. We did not earn that protection. We inherited it from the ones we replaced. And remember the Denisovans, the ghosts we barely have bones for. Go to Tibet today, 4,000 meters up, where the air is so thin that a visitor gets headaches and cannot sleep. The people who live there are fine. They are farming. They are carrying loads uphill, and the gene that lets them do that, the one that stops their blood thickening at altitude, does not come from us. It came from the Denisovans. A species that has been gone for tens of thousands of years is still, right now, holding an entire population up on the roof of the world. Now, look at what your body has been doing with that inheritance ever since. Researchers lined up ancient genomes from 45,000 years ago down to 7,000 years ago and watched the Neanderthals share inside them. It keeps dropping. Generation after generation, quietly, that inheritance is being edited out. In some parts of your genome, especially the X chromosome, it is already almost entirely gone. Long blank stretches where nothing of them survived at all. Scientists call them deserts. So the extinction did not end 40,000 years ago. It is a process. It is still running. It is running inside you today, in the time it took to say this sentence. And before you decide you are the winner of all this, be careful. Because one genetic study argues that long before any of it, our own line nearly ended. Not down to millions, not to a few thousand villages, down to something like 1,000 breeding adults, holding on for 100,000 years. 1,000. Fewer people than your school, fewer than fit on one train. Every human alive today, all 8 billion of us, would have been standing in that one small crowd. You are not the apex predator that beat the other 8. You are the one that nearly went with them and did not. So, look at the people around you again. The train, the street, the room. All those different faces that are all the same species now. Somewhere in your chest, in proteins folding as you breathe, there is a girl in a Siberian cave with a mother from one species and a father from another. There is a woman in an emptying valley. There is an immune system you did not build. Earth does not have one kind of human left. It has one that swallowed the other 8 and is still very quietly digesting them.